These are 5 brutal truths for boomers and Gen Xers that unfortunately are true. And I'm here in New York City, and the saying here is, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. And that's true for New York City, but you know what? It's also true for us, right? The world can be a brutal place. And so truth number 1 is we're on our own. The cavalry is not coming to save us. If we want to have a secure future, if we want to be able to retire and do the things that we want to do, unfortunately, we need to make that happen ourselves. It's us and it's our family. And back in the day, in my father's generation, many people had defined benefit plans, they had pensions. For most of us, for most boomers and for most Gen Xers, those days are behind us. So we need to make some hard choices along the way in order to be able to provide for ourselves in the future. Okay, brutal truth number 2 is time is not on our side, right? The youngest boomers are turning 60. The oldest Gen Xers are 59 right now, and time is slipping away. And time can be our best friend when we're in our late teens, our early to late 20s, right? Because we have 40 years, we have 30 years until we're going to retire. But most boomers are going to be retiring in the next 5 to 7 years, and most Gen Xers are starting to reach that phase again. So unfortunately, brutal truth number 2 is time is not on our side. Number 3 is just the importance of living below our means. You know, it's nice to make a nice salary, and I'm going to talk about that soon, but it's super important, no matter how much we make, to live below our means. Now, it doesn't mean we can't go on vacation, we can't do nice things like this, we can't take the big bus tour, right? But it does mean that we need to look at how we're spending our money and be sure that we're spending our money in a way that's bringing us joy, as opposed to trying to impress somebody else. So many people's futures have been derailed and is not going to be as bright as it could have been because they were worried about keeping up with the Joneses. As they got raises, they let lifestyle creep come in. And so if you're suffering from that, it's never too late to change. It's never too late to look and say, what are the things that really bring me joy in life? And focus on those and spend our money that way, as opposed to looking the right way to impress the right people. There's a saying that, you know, a lot of Americans, and unfortunately boomers and Gen Xers are guilty of this. You know, a lot of folks are borrowing money to buy stuff that we really don't need or want in order to impress people that, you know, frankly aren't that important in our lives. Okay, brutal truth number 4 is it doesn't matter how much we earn, it matters how much that we save. There's been multiple studies that have shown that about half of all people in the United States that make $100,000 a year or more in the United States, unfortunately don't save a dime. And you know, part of the problem is a lot of those people making $100,000 a year salaries are living in places that are expensive to live. So we do what we can. But if you're making a nice salary, if you're not living in a place that's crazy expensive to live, like here in New York City, you know, do what you can to set aside money. Frankly, I would much rather make $50,000 a year and be saving $5,000 or $10,000 a year than making $100,000 a year and not saving anything. And I'm kind of an outlier on this. Many of my viewers might feel this way as well, but you know, part of my measure of was this a successful year, one of them, it's not the only measure. I want to enjoy the journey, but one of the measures is, was I able to put aside some money so that future Azul, future me, will have a more secure life. And if I'm not doing that, you know, if I'm not saving anything, frankly, I'd rather, you know, just travel and pick up side jobs along the way in order to make ends meet, to have that adventure. I like to travel internationally. I have met people that are able to keep their expenses low. But really one of my goals is to save something every year, except, you know, now I'm in retirement, so one of my challenges is to not save money, but that's the subject for another video. Okay, brutal truth number, I believe is 4. Brutal truth number 4 is asset allocation. Asset allocation is incredibly more important than picking tomorrow's hot stock. You know, most of us unfortunately don't have the skill set to pick tomorrow's hot stock. We might get lucky, but you know what? All of us have the skill set to figure out what our asset allocation would be, either on our own or with a professional's help. I should mention none of what I'm sharing in today's video is financial advice. I don't know your situation, so I can't give financial advice. But most of us have the ability, either on our own or by hiring a professional, to come up with an asset allocation that we can stick to in good times and bad times. And it's not sexy, it's not fun, but it is a brutal truth that your asset allocation is much more likely to help you reach your long-term investment goals than you know, trying to pick the best stock. Okay. The next one, and this is a brutal truth, and this is a critically important truth, and that is it's important to invest in our health as well as our wealth. So you can have all the money in the world, but you know, this is the home, this is the body that, you know, it's the only one that we have. And so do what we can to take care of it, to invest both the time and the money to work out, to try to eat as healthfully as we can. Because I can tell you some of the richest people in the world, for instance, Warren Buffett, who's worth close to $100 billion. I'm sure he would trade all but maybe $1 billion of that to swap places with most of us if we're in our 50s, 60s, or even 70s. Because Warren Buffett is now in his 90s. And Warren has one of the greatest gifts of all time, which is he loves his job, right? And he skips to work every day. But you know what? 80–90% of Warren Buffett's net worth came after he was 65 years old. And that gets back to that earlier brutal truth that time is so important. Time is important in order to reach our financial goals. So those are some things to think about. And then I also think it's important, it's not just the destination, it's not just trading off today's adventures and today's fun to have a stronger and a more secure financial future. It's also about enjoying the journey. And that's why I made this video up here, 8 things to stop doing in our 50s and 60s in order to enjoy our journey more. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in that one. Bye-bye.